Hey guys, I'm Mac McCarty, welcoming you back to the Rough and Tumble channel. Got another story here today. This guy in this story, I really enjoyed him. He was my boss. He was a superintendent for this company, and I never will forget. He invited me over one day and showed me his den. And you talk about the neatest den I've ever seen. He had this den and it had this knotty pine paneling in it. And he said, look up there on that wall. And I looked up there and here's one of them knot holes. It wasn't actually a hole, but you know how a knotty pine looks. And here's the back end of a mouse and his tail sticking out of that hole. He's going in that, like he's going in that thing. And I said, oh man, only you would think of that. And down the wall a little more, here's another knot hole, and here's a head coming back out. And I said, boy, what are we gonna do with you? I thought that's a really, really neat idea. And this old boy, he had done line work himself for years, and so he was lineman. And he was running crews out there, and he was good to work for. I enjoyed working for him. And we had this job for a pretty good sized oil company, one of the major oil companies. And they were building this big facility back in the woods there, and they'd built a lease road. And I think it was a couple of miles back in there, maybe 3. It's been a long, long time. But at any rate, he tells me about this, and what we built into there was 12,000 three-phase, 12,000 volts, three-phase, back in there. Put it in on 35-foot poles, had, you know, the pole with the cross arms on top up there, and so you had the 3 wires going down on the insulators up on the arms, and built it all the way back in there to this facility they had. You know, it's going to take quite a bit of power to run these pumps and compressors and all this stuff. Well, he was telling me about the company engineer on this job. He's a young fella, had just got out of engineering school. He was an electrical engineer, double E. And he said, you know, this old boy, he said, he's a good kid, and he said but he sure seemed to lack experience. Well, yeah, he had just got out of engineering school, and old boy liked him, but he saw that he sure needed some experience. Well, he said, the boy said, job was getting close to completion, and they were wrapping up a few details and what have you, and he said, come on, take me down the road and let's look over this line and let me kind of check it out all the way down to the end at the location. And he said, yeah, okay. And so that old boy climbed in the pickup with him, and they're easing down through there, you know, looking at this primary line, checking everything out, making sure everything was clipped in. You know, they tie that wire in on the insulators. By the way, that line is bare wire. It's bare wire. Electricity, well, every time it rains, you'd think that'd burn that line down because it's bare. But water is an insulator, not a conductor. You don't believe it, look at a primary line out there, and it coats it with water all the way to the ground. Nothing happens. It's the minerals in the water that conduct electricity. And so when it rains, it's been evaporated, it's been cleaned up. Pure water, it's not going to conduct. Anyway, they get on down the roadways, and there's a 90-degree turn in the road. Of course, that power line comes in and hits a set of doubles here, cross arms, dead ends, and then comes down here, and there's another set going this way, so you got 90 degrees. And that engineer said, slow down here, let's stop, let's look at this corner here. He said, well, boss says, what's wrong? You see something not right? He said, well, I don't think it's just not right. He said, I've got a question. He says, you see that, you know, if a car was, or a truck was coming down this road too fast, it'd run off here at this corner. It couldn't make the corner. Guy's boss said, well, yeah, of course. And he says, electricity's a whole lot faster than an automobile. And he said, and this coming down here, hitting that corner, having to make that 90-degree turn. Well, he said, what keeps it from falling off the line right there going so fast? The boss looked at him and he said, well, I'm surprised that you didn't already learn that. And he said, well, you can't learn everything in 4 years of school. And he says, well, son, he says, I got you back here. He says, you're right. That electricity falls right off the line at that corner. But he says, we've got some kilowatt baskets to throw up there. He said, kilowatt baskets? He said, what in the world is that? He said, well, you stick them up there on that corner. He said, and as that electricity comes in those baskets, it falls off that line right into those baskets, and it has a contraption in there that throws it back on going around the corner there. He said, you're cooking with gas, man. He says, you still going great guns. That boy looked at him and he says, are you serious? And he said, well, of course, son. He said, you just said it goes so fast it wouldn't be able to stay on the line. He said, you observe it. He said, that's good. He said, well, I don't see, he said, we haven't put them on. He said, but we got them and we're going to be installing them before we heat this line up. Boy says, oh man, that's fantastic. Well, the old boss is all he could do to keep a straight face. He had to come back and tell everybody about that. That poor kid, he didn't know. And he had been carried high. He had been carried high. And I don't know if the boss ever did straighten him out on that, but somebody sometime was going to do it. You can bet on that. That was a little rough, but that's the way it is out there in the oil patch. And well, pretty much that way with line work too. If you've ever been around any linemen, you know, they're a rowdy bunch. They're a rowdy bunch. And when you work with stuff every day that can take your life, and you've seen men hurt, killed, you've been hurt, your approach to life is just different than most. Anyway, I'll never forget that boss man. Like I said, he was a pleasure to work with. Always some kind of bull going on, and a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed this story. Till next time, I'm Mac McCarty saying so long for the Rough and Tumble channel.